Hello again, this is Raphael AVM, and if you're a filmmaker, you probably know what a cut is, and if you've gone to the movies, you probably have seen a cut before. What I'm going to be talking about today in this video is the timing of the cut. We can probably say that the cut in film and video is synonymous to the perspective of the audience. When a film cuts to one shot, it is directing the audience to pay attention to this particular subject, scene, or moment in a film. Some samples of cuts include cutting from a character's eyeline, cutting to a sudden event, or cutting between two people conversing with each other. Those are good examples of how to cut, as they bring attention to specific parts of a film. But what about the things we can't see? The highest priority when editing a film is to capture the emotion of the scene. And yes, while there are a lot of cinematic techniques and post-production tricks that one can use to enhance the emotion, really it's the timing of the cut that actually helps anchor the emotion in that scene. In a regular conversation, you can tell a lot about the emotional chemistry based on the flow of the conversation. If two people manage to bounce back and forth between each other and when talking to one another, you can probably tell that they have a very strong emotional connection.
All the customers kept coming in. Yeah. You got the idea, taking their wallets. Now that was a good idea.
Thank you.
Made more from the wallets than we did from the register.
Yes, we did.
A lot of people come to restaurants.
A lot of walnuts.
Pretty smart, huh?
By contrast, if there are any awkward and/or long pauses, you could deduce that there is some kind of tension in the conversation.
What do you do?
I go to Fordham.
What do you study?
I don't have a major yet.
But like, what do you want to study?
I don't really know.
This can easily serve as an analogy to help us establish the emotional and personal connection that two characters have. And with the power of cutting, we're able to establish that in the film, and we can adjust the length of the cut in order to match the emotion of the scene. In the beginning of 2018, I started the editing process of my first year MFA film called Love for Food. In the film, there is a segment where the main character and her mother have a conversation over Skype. But there was one huge challenge. Both actors were shot separately. Due to our time restraints of filming on set, I decided to film the video of the mother later and record her separately. While this allowed me to complete all the scenes on time with ease, I had to compromise a certain amount of chemistry that the two characters would have when interacting with each other. So the one option I had to rely on was to use really good editing in order to help establish that chemistry and that emotional connection that a mother and daughter would have. When I was making the rough cut of the film, I was more concerned about making sure all the shots were aligned properly and making sure that I have the shots and the coverage that I want in the proper sequence. And again, it's a rough cut, so the timing of the cuts were not perfect, but that being said, it does show the significance of properly timing the cuts and knowing when to cut.
여보세요, 엄마?
안녕, 비야. 너 어저께 전화 거는 거 까먹었지?
네, 어제 좀 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. 죄송해요.
그랬구나. 너 샌프란시스코에서 잘 있는 거니?
네, 잘 지내요.
Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of reluctance for the daughter to talk because of the pauses that occur in between the shots of the daughter as well as the shots of the mother. So it makes the emotion between the two a little bit awkward. And because of that, it kind of established the relationship between the two characters to be relatively distant. And that was not my objective at all. I wanted them to have a pretty close relationship. But if we were to close the gaps between the lines of dialogue, that would not only improve the flow of the dialogue, it would better establish a stronger cinematic connection between the two characters. Once I shortened the cuts between the mother and the daughter, The relationship that they had seemed relatively stronger because the conversation seemed more seamless. So if you were to watch this version of the film, you can see how strong the emotional connection is in this version.
여보세요, 엄마?
안녕 비야. 너 어저께 전화 거는 거 까먹었지?
네, 어제 좀 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. 죄송해요.
그랬구나. 너 샌프란시스코에서 잘 있는 거니?
네, 잘 지내요. 엄마도 잘 지내시죠?
Being able to cut between a shot and a reverse shot is very important in order to understand, just basic technical editing. But it takes a lot more emotional comprehension to understand the timing of the cut. Like just doing, those basic cuts, that only explains, what a cut is. But understanding the timing of the cut allows us to understand when to cut. And that's what helps us establish an emotional connection within the scene. All right, so that's the end of this video. Please be sure to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos just like this. If you know someone that would benefit off this type of video, feel free to share it to them. Share it through Facebook and Instagram. And speaking of which, please be sure to follow my Facebook and Instagram page just so you can get more updates on projects that I'm working on and be constantly up to date with any upcoming YouTube videos that I will be making. Thank you very much and have a fantastic day.